Hello everyone, this is Victor Dantas here from the Zero to Hero Academy. Over the years we have helped multiple professionals either getting into the Power Platform market or some of the seasoned professionals within the industry up their game within the low-code technologies. And we are here to announce that we have a special program coming up between March 19th and May 30th. This is the Power Pages and AI Zero to Hero Mentorship Program. Join us, click on the link, access the lessons. You know how we do it. Live lessons on Teams, and then the recorder goes up to YouTube and you can follow if you are in different time zones, but we prefer it to join it live. Connect, ask questions. So go ahead, invite your colleagues, your dad, your mom, your grandpa. Let's everybody join the fun, all right? We'll see you there. Take care. Cool. All right, Franco, go for it. The floor is yours. Thank you so much once again for donating time.
No problem. Thanks again for coming. I'm really pumped for today's session because I was buzzing after Tuesdays. So quick reminder, in fact, Victor, could you make me presenter again, please?
You got it.
Cool. Yeah, so quick recap of last time. This is what we built. We built some responsive cards using Liquid and some snippets from Bootstrap. We're going to expand on that and do some other cool stuff. So that's all responsive. So it'll either be full width depending on the width of the browser, or it'll go up to 2 columns, or it'll go up to 1/3 of the screen. We added in the modal, which I was very pleased that CoPilot knew how to do for us. And context is everything. So I started that in GitHub Copilot with I started with a fetch XML query. And the reason that I did that is that I wanted it to be aware of which fields we're going to be using throughout the markup. And that's what helped me make sure that it wasn't just some example throwaway code, but that it was actually ready to use. And the way that I've interacted with GitHub Copilot, as you'll see today, is usually through this option, start inline chat. So I'll select the bit of code that I want to change or add or modify, and I'll usually use the keyboard shortcut of Control-I, which is just the same as what I showed there. So that's giving it an extra clue about what it is that we want to work on. So it helped massively with writing code, but you need to know what's available so you can ask for it. So what I would suggest, if you're going to be building pages with Bootstrap components, come take a look at the Bootstrap docs. The site that I'm working on is version 5.2. Again, worth knowing that, or that the markup isn't going to be suitable for your portal. So here's what I did last time. I said I want to take a look at some cards. I'm going to use a card component. Picked out an example, and then we made it dynamic with Liquid. So today we're going to see some modifications of that. Maybe have a go with carousels, off canvas, tabs, all that kind of good stuff. But the idea again is our starting point we get from Bootstrap. We've got a snippet already, or we know what the component's called, and we're saying that's what we want to work with. So that context is going to be helpful. So I'm going to keep telling Copilot that I want to build it in Bootstrap 5.2. I'm going to use the name of some of these components, and let's take it from there. I did have to make a few minor corrections the other day as we went. So if that happens again, I'll point out where it is. But key thing is that we gave it some clues, some context with what we selected. And in some of our wording as well, we also gave it a clue when we've said things like we want to wrap, or we want to add, or we want to change, or we want to loop. Also helpful. And then something we saw towards the end of the session, we're answering some of the questions, is if we wanted to make Copilot aware maybe of the markup for a list or a form, is we viewed the source of the page, copied and pasted that into VS Code, and that was our starting point. So what I'm doing to start with is I've got the same code that we finished off with the other day. And what I'm going to do is see how far we can push it. So we kept getting away with it every time we tried to push it further last time. So let's see how far we get today. So just as a crazy experiment, what I thought we would do is see if we can turn that markup into a completely different Bootstrap component. So at the moment that's outputting cards. Let's see how close it gets. If maybe, let's say the scenario is that we've done all that hard work, the client likes it, but they want to see some variations. So like those, let's take a look again on the Bootstrap docs. Let's try an accordion first of all. So we can expand and collapse, and as one opens, the next closes. Just to see what light work CoPilot makes of this. So I've selected the bit that I want to change. I'm not bothered about changing this style, the fetch XML query, or the modal, just what's currently the markup for the card. So that again is me setting the context, telling CoPilot what I want to work on. So I'm going to hit Control-I for inline chat, and let's see where we get. So I want to replace the cards with Bootstrap 5.2 accordions. You might find it takes a while for such a big chunk of code. In fact, that wasn't too bad. Let's take a look. So at a glance, that's looking good to me. So I can see that we've got the markup for accordions and it's concatenating some unique IDs. So that's a real good start. Yeah, that's looking good for me. So what I'm going to do is copy all that, paste it into my web template. Let's take a look. If it's that easy, I'll be pretty impressed. Sorry, I've got the Teams toolbar getting in the way. This is one hard-working web template. You might recognize it's the same from last time. So we've definitely pushed this one to its limits. Okay, looking good to start with. Sweet. Yeah, so what was the markup for cards and now markups for accordions? I don't think I would use this for event sessions in the real world. What I probably would do, though, that I'm sure you've seen on many websites, is perhaps have my FAQs in this. So if I was outputting knowledge articles on the case management portal. But yeah, really easy work there. All I've done is said, what is it I want to replace and what's the name of the component? And I've given it that clue by selecting which bits of my code do I want to change. Okay, I'm going to undo that. The other one that I really like, I think I showed briefly at the start of the session the other day, is the off canvas. So that gives a chance to free up a lot of real estate off our page. So similar to a modal, but rather than pop up in the middle of the screen like so, what I want is for it to say, if we look at the placements, that I either want it to pop in from the top, I want to pop in from the right, bottom of my screen's up, not visible at the moment, but yeah, that would bring it up from the bottom. So let's give that a try. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to select the modal because that's the bit that I want to change. In fact, I'm going to select everything because thinking about it, I've got this link in the card that would trigger the modal. I've got the modal itself and I've got the JavaScript. So in fact, there's a lot that needs to change for this. So I'll start the inline chat with CoPilot again using Control-I. And let's say we want to replace the modal with an off canvas right. So it's not, I'm not putting exact markup in here, but I'm giving it enough of a clue. So let's see how that does. Again, it might take a little longer this time because there's a lot of code to change. Okay, that's cycled through. Let's take a look. So it's kept my fetch XML query as it was, exactly what I'd want. In fact, sorry, what as it happens, everything that CoPilot's done is correct, but I've still got the accordions. I want to change those back to cards. So sorry, bear with me. Just going to undo a few steps till we're back at cards. Yeah, that's looking good. Right, so I got rid of all trace of accordions. Sorry about that. So same again, select everything. So I want just about everything changed apart from our query. And I'm going to say, replace the modal with an off canvas right. Or as you can probably imagine, I could have said off canvas top, off canvas bottom, off canvas left. Okay, so the key things I'm looking for is that it's changed these attributes to say that it's an off canvas it's going to open. It's passing the information, that's good. It's changed the markup for the modal to be an off canvas. Again, that's great. It's understood from me saying off canvas right that that's the correct markup that should be, sorry, the correct class, so it should be an off canvas end. And it's updated what was the event from modal for an event for an off canvas. So let's see if it can really be that easy. So I've accepted the suggested code. And this is funny that it takes longer for Power Pages to synchronize than it does for CoPilot to write the code. Okay, so I'm back to cards. Fingers crossed if I hit view details, boom. Cool, I've got my off canvas interaction. Still, of course, I could style that further, but I think that's an excellent starting point. I'd maybe just say, for example, I want that to stand out more. So I would maybe say where it's let's see what it is at the moment. A heading 5. I could change manually, but let's just assume that I don't know HTML. So I'm going to say replace with a heading 3. And again, I'm giving CoPilot the clue by selecting what it is I want to change. So yeah, that looks good. But hopefully you can see the power of this for quick prototyping and iterations, that you've not got the pain of going back and refactoring all your code, that, you know, we could very quickly just pop together a couple of new pages, one with the card, one with the accordion, one with the off canvas, and just help the customer make the decision that much quicker. As you've probably seen, a lot of times the client doesn't know what they want until they've seen it, or until they've seen what they don't want. So yeah, cool. Now we've got the bigger session header. Okay, all good. So let's think another popular one that I'm asked for. Let's say we've got some announcements. That the example I'm using is Scottish Summit. So maybe we want to say each time a session is a session is announced, we want to include that in a carousel at the top of the page and keep that cycling through as the users doing the list of sessions. So I know it's called a carousel. The proper name for these isn't a slide, but I'm going to try that in the natural language. So I'm going to select the cards. And say that let's give it a whirl. I want to replace the card output with a carousel. It would make sense to say what I want the carousel to actually show. So I'm going to say containing one slide per session. Sometimes you might find you end up with some of these strange looking comments. I wouldn't worry about that. I commented out anyway in HTML. But yeah, that looks like a promising start. So we've got, it's wrapped it in the correct markup. It's got the loop in the correct place. And it's working out the numbering by using, is this the first item in the for loop? Is it the nth item in the for loop? We've got our controls in there for previous and next. Yep, that's all looking good at a glance anyway. So I'm going to copy all that. And if this works, I might just call it a day there, because I think we're going to be tempting the demo gods after that. So each of these things I've done so far are really just a bonus. It's not what I intended to show in the session. So when we got through this one, when we've seen whether the carousel works, maybe pause a moment for questions, and then we'll jump back into the actual content of today's session. Oh, don't give up on me now. I'm going to close that and try again. Sorry about that, not ideal. Right, so CoPilot demo. Right, in fact, while we wait for that, shall we pause and take any questions? If you want to either pop your microphone on if you can, or drop your questions in the chat.
Yeah, I don't see any on the chat yet, Franco.
Okay,
Maybe
okay.
people are following through.
In fact, what I'm going to do is clear the cache a different way while we're waiting. I'm going to say for the dev environment, Let's purge the cache. Because we've had Power Pages fall over for anyone that's just joined. We've had some good success to start with. So it's worth catching up on the session. We've swapped out the cards from last time with accordions with just one prompt. We then swapped out the modal with an off canvas, again, just with the one prompt. And then what I tried to do before the Power Pages Studio fell over was to say, instead of outputting a card for every one of these sessions, we want to output them in a carousel that will cycle through each of those. So it's not. In fact, it is correct. It's just not quite got right what I want to be one item. So let's take a look. Right, in fact, I'm going to undo that. Sorry, if I redo, I'm not trying to confuse anyone, but you see it's messed up a little bit there. We've ended up with another for loop inside our other for loop, which is not what we want. So I'm going to select all that. Let's try again. So Control I to start the inline chat. And I want to replace the card output with a carousel containing one slide per session. Hopefully this time we don't get the extra loop. Pardon me? Yes, that looks better. So I think that might well be why Power Pages got a bit upset and confused. So let's try that again. The way it was, we had a carousel within a carousel within a carousel. So like we saw last time, we do have to sense check what's created. There is often a little bit of troubleshooting to do. I'll just cheat and clear the cache the other way again. Right, so I think as it is, that the demo gods are slightly annoyed with us. But let's see if we can push through. Right, so we've got one slide. Yeah, cool, and that's cycling through as a carousel. Not the most ideal content for a carousel, but as you can see, it's as easy as that to set up. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Right, so what I was thinking then for the main chunk of today's session is that we take what we built last time. That there were hundreds of sessions on the one page. So what I'm thinking is that we'll group those. So we maybe say, right, here are all the dynamic sessions, here are all the Azure sessions, here are all the AI sessions. That can be our first port of call. That's some relatively advanced liquid. And then let's try and add some filtering. So when I land on the page, I can say, instead of showing me these hundreds of sessions, show me just the dynamics ones, or I'm interested just in the AI ones. So I'm going to undo that. So when I've just got cards and not a carousel. And then thinking this through, I'm going to need a way to identify which track each of these things are in. So I've got the track as a field in my my fetch XML, so that's a good start. So what I'm going to do is say let's say I want to group the sessions query results. I'm referring to that fetch XML query by name because real world, I may well have multiple queries on the page, so it's good practice to get into. To group the sessions query results by track. See what that does. Okay, that's looking good. Apart from I've now got one for loop for the group, and I've still got the original for loop from before, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Now, just looking through, there are a few things that are jumping out at me like that. There's an extra opening bracket there, so just get rid of that. The rest is looking good. Now, I know that for this one, where it says ss.track, that's a choice column. So I need to be a bit more specific and say whether it's the the numeric value or the label that I want to output. So I'm going to say the label. No, I don't like that. Right, apologies. I'm going to undo a few times. So the group should be separate to the for loop. But this is the nature of live demos. I know I'm the one that's stupid enough to do them. So I'm going to select the for loop this time and say cheers for the support, Victor. So group sessions query results by track. And that's what I wanted. So you see the difference this time. I've got a variable that says create another collection, sessions by track, where it's only that is grouped by track. But again, this isn't quite enough. So I want to say by the label of the track. So in other words, the display name. And what it's done is say, give us a heading with that track name. Name doesn't actually mean anything in that context. So that there are a few things we need to be aware of for this. So the first was say choice column, it's the label we want to use. Secondly, I know that for groups, it's the key it's called. So the key is whatever I've grouped by here. But the rest is all looking good. So the rest it's saying for every group, do this loop. And then for every item within that group, output this chunk of code. So I think that's a good point to go and have a look in Power Pages. I apologize. I feel like I'm making it very difficult to follow now. So I'm going to say paste that back into my web template. Try sync and preview again now that I've not got some crazy loop within a loop within a loop. Pardon me. Yeah, so that's a promising start. Okay, so I've got all the dynamic sessions, and if I scroll down, I've then got all the Power Platform sessions, AI, Azure, so on and so forth. So it was worth bearing with. Right, so let's say maybe we want to know how many sessions there are in each. So I'm going to select what it is I want to work on, and maybe say I want to append the number of items in this group. And perhaps if I wanted it before the heading, I would say prepend. I'm expecting that's going to use liquids.size property. Yep, that's all good. So for filtering, as I say, we've got hundreds or at least tens all on the same page. Probably not the best experience. So what I'm going to do is say, let's have a drop down above all these, and then we'll, without writing any JavaScript, we're going to say, take our selection from that drop down and filter the rest of the page. And I reckon if it can do that, then CoPilot's got a job with me. So ahead of all that, maybe within the container, I'm going to say, let's think, at a drop down. So I don't have to know the exact HTML elements, just in plain English, I consider that a drop down containing the available tracks. And I assume it's going to know what I mean by tracks because we've referenced it elsewhere in the page. We've got the SS track field, we've mentioned it in the groups, all that kind of thing. So yeah, all good. So it's given me a HTML select, which is what I would expect. We've got an option for all tracks, so in case the user does want to see everything rather than a specific track. And the only thing that I think would be an issue here is that we're referencing this sessions by track before we've actually set it. So I'm going to actually move that code down here. So it's going to set the variable, then output the list, then do the rest. So let's see for now if we're on the right track. Copy and paste that into Power Pages. Come on, will it to work? Yeah, so we've at least got the drop down. It doesn't do anything yet, but that's what we can get CoPilot working on next. So I'm going to jump back to VS Code. Maybe head down after all this lot and say, well, I thought we've got, I think, one of those magic moments again. In fact, let's give that a try. I don't know if that's going to be the exact thing we need, but that's what it's suggesting we do next. So I hit tab to accept that. And you see it's suggesting the next thing. So it's missing a closing script tag. I'm going to accept that. It might be what we want. It might be partially what we want, but if not, if it's not worked out, we can always just create our own prompts rather than what it's suggesting. And in fact, I've just noticed we got our count from before. That's good. Right, so not quite right. So what I'm going to do is give it a clue. So I'm going to maybe say for each of these sections, we want to add an attribute to say which track they belong to. So I'm going to carry on undeterred. I'm going to undo that script that it created. And then let's think for the cards, we want something about them to say which track they belong to. So that's what represents one track from the heading down to this closing div. So again, giving it that context. And I'm going to say, I want to add a data attribute. It needs to go on somewhere. So I'm going to say wrap these in a div with a data attribute containing the track. What that's going to do is give us something to hook onto, whether that's with CSS if we wanted to style each track differently, or with JavaScript because we want to filter, we want to do the show hide. Again, it's got a bit giddy, I think, with the fours. So I've got for each track. I think that's an extra one. So not perfect, but pretty damn close. Yeah, let's see where we get with that. There's still no filtering going on. But what I want to check this time is that we've got something to identify each section. And let's take a look. Have we got our data attribute? Yeah, so we can see there's something that we could grab onto to say, for example, I want to hide all the dynamics ones. So what we're going to do is get CoPilot to write something with JavaScript that does this kind of thing, that says where data-track equals dynamics 365. And hides that. Yeah, so that we've got something to hook onto. So I think we're getting close. We've still got 18 minutes, so hopefully we can get this done now. So I'm going to say, try again to create that that jQuery function. It could be JavaScript. I'm choosing jQuery because that's what I find easiest to read, and that's what I train my staff and my mentees in. So it makes sense that yes, we're getting CoPilot to write for us, but we can at least understand it for maintenance. So write a jQuery function to filter based on the selected track. There's nothing very technical that I'm having to write in, but I am kind of having to think about that logical progression, that we've got the cards, then we want a way to be able to select them, then we want to have the JavaScript that does the filtering. So that looks reasonable. I'm not sure if it's going to do everything, but let's see. So I'm going to select that. Paste in our trusty web template. And if nothing else tonight, I think we've seen a really good variety of prompts. Right, here goes nothing. So if I choose Power Platform, no, still not right. Right, so I'm going to take a look at the drop down. So my hunch now is that the values that have got spaces in them are causing a problem. So one thing I might do is to replace those spaces with hyphens. Let's see. But I'm going to get a bit more specific with the prompt. So I'm going to say unchanged to the track selection. Get the value of the selected option. I'll share these prompts, don't worry, but get the value of the selected option. And what do we want to do? We want to hide the div. Hide the div with a corresponding data dash track. Right, we're definitely pushing it now, but let's see. I'm going to take a note of that prompt just in case that is what we need. Pardon me. So when track drop down changes, get the selected option, then go and find anything with a matching data dash track. Set it to hidden or show. So in fact, it sounds like it's going to do the opposite of what I want, but I'm going to give that a try. And at worst, I might have to swap out none for block. This, of course, all goes so much better in practice than live on the session. Oh, no. Right. In fact, what I'm going to do is cheat and show you. In fact, something's going on, but it's not quite right. So I'm going to copy, cheat, and show you one that I created earlier. So here's one with grouping and filtering. I think it's going to be dangerously close to what we just saw. So we've got the grouping first of all. CoPilot that time added an unchange event in the HTML. And then in the JavaScript, so get the value of that selected track. Pardon me. Oh, in fact, sorry, I did say I think it might be the wrong way around. So let's just double check that. So it's saying if it's a match, hide it, whereas we want to say if it's a match, show it, otherwise hide it. All right, I won't go through to put you through this pain any longer. If this isn't it, we'll just go with my one I prepared earlier. Cheers for the support, Cheryl. Yeah, all valuable learning. I guess it's useful to see what to look out for and where to go if your prompts aren't providing exactly what you're after. So no, that's not the one. But anyway, I've taken much the same approach with this one. That we've got the fetch XML query. We group it by track. It's almost identical. We've got something that identifies where each track starts, and we've added that data attribute, so we've got something that we can easily hook onto. And then in the JavaScript, we've got a similar function that says, go get the value from the selected option and take it from there. And I think something I had to change, but no, I haven't on this. I'll show you the end result, and I said happy to share the web template. Just because it might well be something that you you want to implement on your own projects. So super close to what we had. Yeah, feel free to nick it in future, but there you go. That we've got the filtering, or we can say all tracks, and then we're back to the full list. So CoPilot got us dangerously close to what to recreating that tonight. And then, in fact, as a bonus, not got time, I think, to do the trial and error to build it out with CoPilot, but another example that I worked on was with tabs, same kind of functionality, but with Bootstrap tabs. And what I'd said was select the card output and output these as pill tabs. And what we're talking about by pill tabs are, in fact, I'll just show you on screen. So much the same markup for the rest, apart from what I'm outputting here. I'm saying I want a list of links that allow us to choose between tabs. And then each track is output as a tab. So let's drop that into Power Pages. So much the same functionality, but I can now say, show me just the Power Platform ones, just the AI, just the Azure. And largely the same content. I've had to write very little code, maybe apply the odd correction here or there. But as I said, the reason that I know those things exist is go and take a look at the Bootstrap docs, have a look at the markup, what the components are called, and that's a starting point. And again, you'll see here that it's much the same markup. It's applying unique IDs to which bits it wants to show, hide, or navigate to. That's the useful part. And then just to wrap up, a couple of useful bits to remind you of is, let's say I had no idea what that this bit does. What I can do with CoPilot is either with the context menu or in fact, only with the context menu that I'm aware of, I can say, explain this, and it'll give me the kind of throwaway breakdown on the left. So, if it's created the correct markup for me, but I want to understand why is that correct? How does it do what it does? Probably a bit more than what I was expecting for that, but yeah, I guess I've got the end for in there as well. Or I can say, I don't want it to be throwaway. I want to generate documentation, and that'll actually add it to my file in comments. Okay, we'll pause for any questions there. So again, feel free, pop them in the chat, or if you want to turn your mics on.
So Franco, what I've noticed is this combination of the the Power Pages Copilot and GitHub Copilot, it's by far uh, the best combination I've seen. I mean, your lesson is like the best one I have seen on Copilots for pages. When it
Thanks,
comes to the areas of development that people will encounter, but they don't know how to do it, right? We know that Power Pages. I'm not condemning the two, but it's one of the least ready Power Platform products for no code, right? So there is always an element of code that we have to use, and then if you want to make it an outstanding site, you have to tap into some sort of code, be it Liquid or JavaScript. But this combination of both is amazing. So kudos to you for this session. I really, I shouldn't say I'm impressed because I should always expect like good stuff from you. But yeah, that combination was perfect. I tried to do the same using the VSCode.dev, and we don't have the same outputs, meaning the same results that the GitHub Copilot can offer alongside the Power Pages Copilot. So maybe that's something for us to explore down the line. But it's amazing. So thank you so much for that. I don't see a whole lot of questions here, but folks you are free to unmute and present your questions to Franco. Someone's typing. So while we wait, I wanted to remind everyone that next week we're going to have 2 lessons from Nick Dolman. He's going to be talking about integration between Power Pages and Power Automate with an element of AI ingrained in the mix. I do know that this weekend also there is a time change in the UK, so I'm not sure what time it is right now there. But I think for folks in the UK, you guys will be joining us 1 hour earlier, if I am not mistaken. So if anybody that lives in the UK can help with the right time, that would be great. I don't know which other countries are changing time, but what you can do if you're following us and you want to follow live is you can Google what time in my city, what is the time, what is the time in Calgary right now? And then you're going to figure out. We are hosting these lessons at 12 p.m. Calgary time, that is MDT, Mountain Daylight Savings Time. So you can compare with your time zone. We prefer that you join us live because then you can ask questions. You will be part of the live action, but we do broadcast the lesson again in LinkedIn for folks who are in a complete different time zone. It's morning at their time when we do the replay. But we prefer that if you can make it, join us live. It's loads of fun. So thank you so much for joining us today. Franco, my friend, thank you so much one more time for sharing your brains with us, your insights when it comes to Power Pages. I look forward to meeting you in person again soon. All right, take care, and we'll talk again next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Catch you next week.
Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Franco. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.